सलाम मेरे अजीज पंखों।
Jungkook, Taeyong, he whispered for the first time his name was surrounding so pretty for him. Without leaving his shyness, they look up. Jungkook held his hand and placed that on his heart with a whisper. Jungkook, you live here. Make their heart skip a beat. They got tears in his eyes. They tried to hide them, but they were stumbled enough to come out from his eyes. Jungkook removed his arm from his head and wiped the tear from his cheeks. Jungkook, I hate when you cry. Show me your smile. He ordered, and his heart fluttered one more time. Lower his gaze, they smiled shyly, and he also smiled. Even though he was in a stage of surprise, how could they change his mind suddenly? But his happiness would not allow him to think about it. He slowly held their chin to lift his face up, but they felt shy. Removing his hand from his grip, they ran to his room. They decided to leave him alone for some time so that he could accept it. After a long shower, which was much needed in those hot hours of summer, when midnight sun was ready to burn everything with its rays, they stepped out of the bathroom holding fresh fragrance of strawberry. His half-wet clothes were hugging his frame, and hair was muffled in a towel. Removing the towel from head, he wiped the water dripping down and started combing it. But suddenly the door room was opened by Jungkook and Taeyong, I am. Stepping in the room he was saying but stopped in between as his heart stopped to beat for a while. Taeyong was also shocked for a second. They didn't understand what to do. For the first time, Jungkook see Tae like this. Jungkook, I'm going. He informed and Tae nodded nervously. He stepped toward the door and they followed him silently. His manly figure walked out of the door making Tae's heart sink down. He didn't want to go but didn't have any reason to stop him. Tae, listen, they said very loudly when Jungkook was locked the room from outside. Jungkook, yes, say. He replied from outside, but what could the poor boy reply when he didn't have anything to say? He called him with the intention of stealing a few moments for his time. When Jungkook didn't get any answer from inside, he unlocked the door to found that just perfect figure standing with nervousness on his innocent face. His honey brown orbs were holding many questions, but Jungkook was unable to answer them with his eyes. For the next few moments, there was not any space for word or anything else in between them. They gulped nervously. Wanna say something? Holding softness in his deep voice, he asked and figured his gaze on the floor. They shook his head after tucking the hair lock behind his ear. Jungkook, may I go? He asked. The innocent heart gave a painful beat, but he nodded. Jungkook wanted to touch the hair, but he didn't. He turned to go with the same sadness in his heart and the pain of suppression, and suddenly, where, when will you come back? Just a useless question to take away a moment for his time. Jungkook, tomorrow evening. Jungkook, tomorrow evening, their face became pale like he never had the shade of that blush which was beating Jungkook's heart just a second ago. Jungkook lifted his chin up with the help of his first finger. Taeyong's heart was running a marathon. They was feeling nervous and shy too. Jungkook was lifting his cheek, but his gaze was still watching only his shoes. Jungkook, look here, Jungkook said. He whispered, make their hearts skip a beat, nervousness swallow his completely. But with a loud beat of his innocent heart, they lift his lashes just for a moment, then again bow his head down with a shy smile. No matter how expert Jungkook was in managing business, no matter how dangerously he was for his rival, no matter how overbearing he was for his subordinates, but he was clumsy when it's come to handling love. He was confused about what he should say to Tae. He thought for something romantic which beat his heart fast for a moment, and after all, he opened his mouth to utter what comes in his head. Should I lock the door from outside, or you are locking it from inside? That was the only sentence that popped out of his mouth after thinking a lot to say something romantic. They, as you wish, they replied in a whisper without looking at his face. Jungkook continued watching his face. I'll try to come back tonight. Removing his hand from Tae's chin, he whispered and took a step back. Jungkook, take care, he added in a whisper before cupping his cheek with right hand, and soon he disappeared from his eyes. The very next moment, they were shocked by his soft touch. He blinked twice while watching the door, which was closed, and Jungkook was locked from outside. They muttered after placing his hand on the place where he could still feel his finger and soft touch. His frame was covered with goosebumps and hard, plump more than a garden. Take care. That was the only two words, but they had listened for the first time for himself. He wanted to smile with happiness, but only fresh tears come out from his eyes. Place his hand on his chest. He felt his rapid and uneven heartbeats. Take a deep breath, and he left it. Gaze was down, lips were smiling, heart was flying in between clouds, and his feet were moving toward the bedroom. But suddenly a shock captured him. A loud gasp left his mouth, lips trembled, hand shivering, and luck took back his step, but unfortunately he was unable to maintain his balance and fell down after watching the horrible figure standing in front. They cried and he crept backward. Mr. John also took step toward him. Using all his energy, they tried to divert from his place, and he stood up too. But before they could run, a rough hand grabbed a big tuft of his hair, making him scream a pain. Ah, leave me! Please leave me! Drake cried when Mr. John pulled him by his ear. Leave me! Please leave me! They cried in pain, and Mr. John smiled. Mr. John, I have gave money for you. How can I let you go? Did you get my own son to trap in love? The grip on Tae's hair he asked like a devil, and Taeyong cried loudly due to pain. Leave me, I buy you. Pulling his fragile frame in his arm, he grit his teeth, and this time Tae was numb, his leg shivering when his hand took a hold of his neck. Mr. John. John never let his prey go away from his hand. He smacked, but this time they felt his grip weak. Poor boy tried to the most clever move of his. He pushed him and ran toward other room. He listened a loud, laughing voice. This is my own house. Where will you run? I have key of every room. Ignoring the warning, they keep running and lock himself in a nearby room. They God, please save me. Please, please save me. At last, answer my prayer this time. Please save me. He was mumbling and crying when he listened to the voice of keys inserted in the keyhole. Fear clubbed him in completely. Soon Mr. John entered the room and they cried loudly with hiccups and that devil who took step ahead. Mr. John, run now. Let's see. Where will you go? He laughed and they took back step. Soon they back come in the contact of the wall and he fell down on his knees while crying miserably.